and welcome back to the Variant Geek Podcast. My name is Brennan.
Hi, I think I'm Zach.
Man, that gets funnier every time you do it.
No, I believe I was
I
Jason,
know.
but I don't matter, so.
It's only the
Definitely not
6th or 7th time that we've done this.
I thought we were in like 8 or 9.
We're not.
Not quite.
But you know what? On the bright side, though, got some raised energy here to actually kind of pick up my spirits.
That pre-workout for your workout you're about to do?
No, it's actually 0-calorie energy to help me focus on our esports grind.
Yeah, and where did you get that raise energy?
I got it at repsports.com.
Did you use a certain code when you got it?
Well, I mean, thing too is I can't really use our own code, but
yes, you can. You get a
You
discount.
can?
Yeah, that's the whole point of it. Ding dong. You paid full price.
You probably did. That sounds like Zach.
That really does sound like me. But if you do use our code VG Podcast, you get
Unlike some
50%.
idiots in this area.
But
What do you
I got
get?
Galaxy Burst, and it's tasting pretty good.
I'm currently drinking the melon guava.
But
You were literally watching me drink it.
I am.
Since last time we saw the Nintendo Direct, and they announced like 40 seconds of Breath of the Wild 2, which could be really cool. It comes out next year at some point.
I saw that like water thing that you were talking about, Zach.
Yeah.
It looks interesting.
Yeah, like I mean, he has some interesting new powers. Takes place above they're trying to expand to above Hyrule as well, a bunch of like floating mountains and stuff. And then we saw a trailer for the first 2D Metroid in 20 years. Be the first Metroid game I probably will play ever.
You've never
So I'm
played
excited
one.
for that. I've never played one. I enjoy the Metroidvania style of games. Never played Castlevania. Never played Metroid.
He said, I enjoy the games, ain't never played them.
No, like I enjoy that style of game.
You don't get
Like-
to utter the style, you heathen.
But in other news, we are talking about D&D this week.
What does D&D stand for, Zachary?
Why do they ask
Dungeons?
Zachary?
And
Brennan?
Dragons.
Oh, I'm glad you asked me. It's called it stands for Dungeons and Dragons.
It's a tabletop, or started out at least as a tabletop role-playing game.
By Gary
We have-
Gygax.
Yeah. Our Lord and Savior, Gary Gygax.
Okay. Over here acting like you didn't just start D&D for the first time ever recently.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's already been it's almost been 2
2 years.
Jeez. Because the first time, I mean, I've tried to play D&D before, but we got to character creation.
Creation.
We got the character creation.
Character creation.
And after that, we just, like, nobody had the time, so we never actually continued with it. Until our sophomore year, when was it literally just you two and me, and our first...
Davis.
Oh, was Davis there too? And
Yep.
the first fantasy one?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I made an entirely new story, entire new world, characters, plot. I spent like a decent amount of time writing my own stuff, and then eventually that fell through, and we got a new player. He'll probably actually be on the podcast eventually when we talk about anime and stuff
Here's
like
hoping.
that.
I miss that kid.
I will not be here for that episode.
I mean,
Neither will I.
seen a little bit more anime now.
My favorite anime is Boku no Pico.
Oh God, Jason, no.
You telling me
No.
about that? I said no, thank you. I said
No.
no.
But yeah, he came in. We made a Star Wars campaign.
That was my
That
favorite
idea.
campaign I've ever
That
played.
most definitely.
It started out as I was just I kind of wanted to just do Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic as like basically the basis for the plot, and then eventually you guys shoved a bomb up Karth's butt, and killed him, and then everything just went off the rails. And I just had to. I made stuff up as we went.
Well, you also shifted from like Knights of the Old Republic to like Dead Space.
Well, that was
That
near
was
the
whack.
end. was really near the end where I was.
You were like, I give up.
For straws.
Which, like, I had. Oh Lord, that was so much fun. And I was playing as what is Cad Bane's race?
You were playing a Duros.
Duros. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were a really lanky
Duros.
Duros.
With
Brennan was a female Twi'lek.
As a Twi'lek, everybody loved me.
A Mandalorian Twi'lek.
I was a Twi'lek Mando.
God, what was Davis?
wasn't he just a human?
He was a no. Was he the human?
Yeah,
He
and
was a
then
Jedi.
Yeah, he was because Connor was the
assassin.
the Rhodian.
Yeah, Connor was the Rhodian. That makes sense.
It was so funny because I think my favorite thing with Connor playing is he loves like getting children and like having them as companions.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Let me rephrase that real quick. Whenever we played D&D, Connor liked to like find an orphan child and raise them as their own.
And give
Because his character always has to have like some messed up background that he's like, I'm never gonna have a family, and then he finds a child and he's like, family.
I have a family.
And so yeah, one time there were like 3 kids you guys were saving. 2 of them fell off the edge, and he used his grappling hook in his
to save one.
To save one. And he raised it. He raised it, and then eventually, near the end of our
you killed it.
You killed it out of spite.
Oh Lord, that was funny.
Just because we derailed your campaign so much.
Because eventually, you guys were like, you know what, we're gonna drive this ship into this planet. And
yeah, we were role playing, and you were just upset.
That's the name of the game, isn't it? What's the name of the game? Not affiliated with ABBA at all.
But you should be.
What?
Gorgeous voice.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, if you guys want to, like you guys as in our listeners, you guys want to get into D&D, it can be a little daunting. I would honestly recommend you do, like, if you don't feel like DMing, like, extremely, or, like, creating your own stuff.
Okay, if you don't want to...
plenty of pre-made...
I was going to say, if you don't want to DM, I don't want to sound, like, rude or anything, but I feel like I have a little tiny bit more room to talk on this point. If you don't want to DM and you don't have anyone in your group that wants to DM, but you want to get into D&D or D&D-esque
just
games,
DM.
Play Pathfinder. It's all like pre-made stories, and you don't actually have to have a DM. Just a fun fact for you, and it gets rid of that overwhelming element of having to be the one in charge. Like, oh my gosh, me and my friends have never played this, and I might ruin the experience for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was definitely worried about that with the first campaign.
Yeah, you kept saying, "Oh, this was poop," and I'm like, "I'm enjoying it, but okay."
I was gonna say, I'm having fun. Why is this poop?
Well,
I mean, I was so. Campaign... Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is like the fact that I found that like hidden area.
That's what I was going to talk about.
I was like, what? That was
you made it so long when you could have been like, there's nothing there. You said, okay, let's go explore.
I know, I panicked because I was like, oh, you rolled a d20. I guess something has to be there.
And that wasn't the Star Wars one.
No, that was the first one. That was
the
first fantasy
that was
novel.
when I was the Dragonian.
Yeah,
Dragonborn.
Dragon. Oh, I didn't know if it was Drag. Oh.
I definitely want to do another campaign, though, at some point.
I do, too.
I could definitely write one this summer with all the people that are not hiring me. Silence. Yeah. But,
Sorry, I definitely spaced big time.
What do you think your guys' favorite parts of D&D? Like, what draws you to D&D?
I just like the freedom to just do whatever you want. I love the freedom to create a story.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I've been influenced by D&D greats. I dare to say, like
Matthew Mercer.
Like Critical Role. Yeah, Matthew Mercer. Okay, if you've never DM'd before and you want to DM, don't look to Matthew Mercer because you'll be overwhelmed. I'm just kidding. Yeah, look to him, but don't try to emulate him.
Yeah, because he has a bunch of videos.
He has a whole series on DMing tips,
like how to DM, and that definitely helped me a lot in how to create certain bosses, certain fights. Another thing that some people might not know is DMs make up a bunch of stuff, because sometimes you'll have this like really high level enemy that you don't expect them to find or fight for another like 2 or 3 sessions, and then they just find it, and you're like, well, crap, now I have to somehow in my head just downscale everything.
Well, I was watching a thing
out of there somehow
with College Humor's Brennan from College Humor, who does like all their like D&D stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he DMs it all, and he was talking about how there was one campaign that he had created, like this insane guy that was supposed to be like the end of the campaign boss for them all, and they found him in the first session, and they killed him because they all rolled insanely good, and he's like, "What? You kill him? I don't know what we're gonna do for the rest of this, but good job." And he said like it completely derailed his entire story, and he had to go back to the drawing board for the next week.
Yeah, and like as a DM, you have to be ready for that, for your character, for your playing it to just completely throw away your story and just do what they want. You could definitely try and like keep them on the rails as much as like not as much as possible, but like kind of angle them towards the right
without being like super pushy in an annoying way. Being like, if they roll really well, and you're like, no, it don't work, no.
Yeah, I think me never being a DM, I'm like, I am talking out of my butt. But like, I feel like as a DM, you need to be willing to be extemporaneous or like just be like improvisational.
Yes, I think that's why I'd like to think I'm a decent DM.
Yeah, like I was enjoying our last campaign that we were doing with you as the DM, especially when I rolled well enough to do a backflip out of a circle, pushing Davis.
Oh, that was hilarious!
And run away.
I know, you're like, I have an idea, and I was like, well, this is a great start to any story.
Like, oh no.
And that almost one act got everybody to just want to kill my character.
Yeah.
And then like failing on trying to steal something from Connor.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna steal from him. I was like, that is a really bad idea, and you did it anyway. And I'm like, well, and in my head, I'm like, he is not gonna roll well enough.
But I definitely think I actually probably almost enjoy DMing more than I do playing so far, at least. Granted, I have more experience DMing than I do playing. I've DM'd 2 campaigns and played in 1.
Right.
But it definitely like helps a lot. Like you learn how to improv better. You learn how like it just helps you like just kind of be more creative, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 'cause it's also fun to just like add voices to certain characters. It becomes difficult later on to remember what voice you did for what character if you don't write it down.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy D&D, and it literally created the role-playing game genre. And so we have
thank you for that.
many games to thank for D&D. Like, I don't know if I might have mentioned this in our first ever episode, but like the extent that my dad's D&D campaign group.
Oh my gosh! Like them having to know how to speak Elvish.
Yeah, them knowing how to speak Elvish. They had to have read all of the Hobbit, all of the Lord.
Which
of the Rings.
I mean, like, when you have something like that, that's amazing. That is amazing.
That's got to be an insane experience. Like, I guarantee that's like stories that they tell. I mean, obviously, your dad's a living, breathing example of this. That's stories you tell your kids. You know.
Yeah, like I don't think they had to know. They had to know. God, I don't remember. I'd have to ask them again, but like they had to know Elvish, like in order to DM. Mm-hmm. They had to know Elvish. They had to know probably like one other like fantasy language, like actually know how to speak it, write it. And there are like alphabets out there for you to do stuff. And
I even looked it up with Star Wars. Like I looked up like the galactic basic language, and I was like, I can't do this. Like I tried, and I was like, I can't do this.
You said, no, that ain't it, Chief.
Like, and also like something I think small things can go a long way. Like, you know, like we haven't really been able to, like it wasn't until our Star Wars campaign I think that we actually had like a mat in front of us,
right? And those are all things that like unless you're playing with the rich kid down the block, which if you are, I'm jealous.
Or if you are the rich kid down the block.
Exactly. You got to be ready to play a game like this with little to no physical
imagination
expression of what it is.
Entirely imagination.
Exactly. And I know that can be, for some people, that's a no deal. Like some people are like, absolutely not. Don't want to play a game like that. And that's fair.
Well, and I was going to say, you talked about favorite aspects. That's one of my favorite aspects, is to be able to make something up on the fly.
Exactly. And that's why I like it's something we talk about in theater. If you look at Greek theater, and trust me, this applies. They just whenever a character would die, they would die off stage. You'd hear them yelling or whatever, but then they'd be dead.
Yeah.
And the concept of it is in theater, you're never going to be able to create something better than an audience's imagination. And the same goes for D&D, unless you're doing some look at Critical Role, and they don't have game mats and stuff like that. It's all pen or paper and pencil, except for when they do the lucky deck. He actually has it there. There's his magic items that Matt uses. He has in person. It's there in the game, and that's a cool physical aspect. But the whole game itself is mainly imagination based.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's literally having DM before. I remember when I tried to do a campaign back home using a lot of my Lord of the Rings miniatures and Warhammer stuff, and it was not as enjoyable as when we did just imagination based.
Yeah, and he has a bunch of. I know we keep talking about DMing, but that's mostly what I know.
Yeah.
But he has a bunch of tips for really cost effective ways for you to do to keep track of stuff. The little thing, I don't even remember what the tabs. I think on milk, the blue, hold the lid on. You take those off when you're done with them, or on pop bottles. And you can use those as indicators. Be all right, this red one means your character is bleeding. This purple one means that your character is poisoned.
I don't believe in milk, so.
And it's little things like that can go a long way,
or
as far as adding to the experience.
Yeah, or you want to draw an old map, so you can take a piece of paper, draw out your map, and then just dip it in coffee.
Yeah. I've done that actually before.
Coffee on it. And it might not seem like a lot, but it definitely adds a lot to the story.
Now, if you're playing with a group that's no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to not have. Bless me. I'm so sorry. If you have a group that's I don't want to do this non-physical representation stuff, my imagination pupuduki. That's another area where I'd recommend a game like Pathfinder or Warhammer. They released a new game a while ago. I think it's called oh gosh, it's not. It might be their Underworlds. I'd have to look it up real quick. But it's a D&D style RPG where you buy a box for a little over $100, and you have everything you need to play, and it's a lot of stuff. You get miniatures, you get a map, you get scenery. You don't have to have the imagination center base, but there's a way to do it for everybody. So that's what I'm just trying to get at, I guess.
If you're unable to meet and stuff like that, there is online software on laptop. I don't know if it's on. I don't know if you can do it on stuff like iPads and stuff, but there is online software that
I'm sure you could.
You can literally have a map up and stuff like that. Because I used to watch the Late Night Crew before it got disbanded because of a bunch of stuff. You want to look at it, just look up the Late Night Crew. But they had this software, and you could bring people in. You could show little. It's not. You have to use a little bit of imagination, but at the same time, it's all right there, so you know exactly how far away you are from this person. Because there were times where I was definitely crap, where are you in relation to this monster?
You're where am I standing? I don't know what I'm doing. What?
Where are
that
you?
That is one part that
somewhere.
Is kind of difficult as far as the imagination base. At least and I know we keep talking about the DM, and people are why do you keep talking about DM? I think it's one of the more important aspects to be informed about for D&D if you don't really know what you're doing, because if you don't have a good DM, you're not going to have a good session.
Yeah, the DM can definitely make or break a good session.
Our DM was Garp. Oh, who said that?
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm just kidding. For all intents and purposes, I'm kidding. You did good.
I was definitely crying a little bit. I had a tear coming down my eye.
Oh, did you?
Okay. Just go talk. No, never mind.
That does not need to be public knowledge. But I mean, crap. I mean,
crap. Yes, Zach. Thank you.
I literally forgot what I was about to say because I was about to say something before that.
Well, okay. What was your guys' favorite parts of the 3 campaigns we've done recently? Like, what's one moment that stands out to you?
I'll go in order. So, like, first, I'd say I absolutely loved in the first campaign we did in the fantasy one. I loved the little fight ring we did in the first one because at the end we cut off a gentleman's member.
Oh my gosh.
Because our DM felt the need to explain to us how impressive this member was.
Who carried that? Who carried it? Was it me or you?
It was Connor. No, it was Jason. It was Jason.
Oh, yes, it was.
It was Jason. Jason's like, I'm going to cut it off. And I said, you're going to what? And he did.
It was in his inventory.
It was.
I remember that. Oh, I forgot. I honestly forgotten about so much that happened in that first campaign.
Right?
Because it was a while ago.
Yeah, over a year now.
Because, actually, before we continue that, the only reason we started doing D&D, because 2 people were like, hey, we kind of want to do D&D here. Do you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, sure.
And then they were never there.
And then I was like, all right, when do you guys want to create characters and stuff like that? Because I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to help you guys through this. I did a lot of reading, and they never showed up. But,
they never showed up.
Whatever.
Hey, they bought me dice though.
Did they really?
Did they really?
Yeah, Josh got us dice. Remember, he got us each the dice bag.
Oh.
I don't even remember that. I thought all of my dice I paid for. Huh.
But
anyways, Jason, what was one of your favorite moments?
Oh, I was like, I still can go more, but
okay, go.
Okay, so with the first one, when I was the Draconian, I loved when I rolled the D20 to like I find a little hidden room on the staircase, and then we went into like the plane of mirrors, or whatever it was.
Dude, he brought us into like a level 15 area. Like, having played D&D, he starts throwing all this terminology at us, and I'm like, bro, we're level 1. Why are we here? I was like, today's the day we die. And then
that game I actually drew a maze, right? And I had you guys go through.
Yeah, that was that one that was the maze.
Okay, that was a nightmare.
That was a nightmare because he's like, you go left, and we're like, which way? And he looks down at his little map. He's like, I'm trying to explain it. But no, I remember with that, like the stupid Hall of Mirrors thing, because we got separated. And it was me and Davis, and then you were alone. And me and Davis were walking down this corridor, and he's like, I'm like, I want to check this door. And he's like, okay. I open the door, and he's like, it's a wraith. I was like, I'm level 1. What do you mean it's a wraith?
I closed the door.
Well, eventually I was like...
And I rolled a D20 stealth check, and I was like, trying not to die.
Before we ended, I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm throwing a beholder at you.
And you did! And I'm like,
This butthole.
Those beholders, you have to be like level 10 at least.
Yeah, at least. But and then we should probably speed round the next couple here. But the Star Wars campaign, I think my favorite was when Zach left the room to run to the bathroom, and we discussed the plan on how we were going to infiltrate the Sith base. And it was what Zach had alluded to, where we had a follower, Karth, who was knocked out from blood loss currently. So whilst he was knocked out, we made the executive decision to put a bomb in his keister regions and not tell Zach about it.
It was so
And then we surrendered Karth as a prisoner to the Sith because I don't remember. It wasn't me. It was one of Connor. It was Connor that like silver-tongued his way through the guards, and they're like, okay, sure, we'll take him. And then we'll get back to the ship, and Zach's like, all right, what are you guys doing? And I pull it out, and I go, click, and he goes, what? And I was like, by the way, there's a bomb inside of Karth. And we blew it up and flew away.
Well, here, one of my favorite moments, and it created probably one of the bigger memes from our
my
D&D
word.
campaign.
All of those memes.
It was near the beginning where Connor literally D20 rolled to kill a child.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, because
the
we
child
had to,
showed up and the child's like, "Oh my god!"
because the
what
child
happened?
saw what we had done, because like we got into a fight and it was supposed to be like super secretive, but then this kid walks in, and instead of like grabbing the kid and being like, "Here's a lollipop, don't tell anyone," Connor rolls a perfect D20 to shoot the kid in the face.
He kills the kid.
And he kills the kid. He was my favorite aspect of the last two. Like just him being him.
Yeah.
But
And then the campaign that I ran as a DM, I think I had two moments that are my favorite. So one, it's not a moment as much of a collective of moments, but almost whenever Jason would attack. So he played Dibble Greenleaf. He was this. Were you a halfling?
Yes.
Yeah, you were a halfling, but you were like the size of like a meter stick.
I was little.
And so whenever he'd attack someone, we'd call it the horny bonk. Because he would just attack him with his staff. You were a druid, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a druid. And my absolute favorite moment is when you guys found your way down into the basement of the temple, where all like the creepy necromancer stuff was going on, and you weren't supposed to be there yet. You were not supposed to find it for another like 7 sessions.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, well, they found it, so I guess here we go. And I'm just sending. I had to like cut out a bunch of encounters in the little sewer tunnels because I kept being like, you turn,
Mm-hmm.
and like every other tunnel was supposed to be like a level 7 enemy.
Yeah.
And you guys were like level 2, and I'm like, I'm not gonna just kill these guys in this campaign. But then you ended up, I don't remember who it was, but they figured out the door puzzle and they got into the like the main room where the cult dealings were going on, because there was like 300 robed members just standing in a circle.
Was it Davis?
It was either Davis or Connor, because I know it wasn't one of you two, because you guys were following.
Connor like hugged the wall.
He hugged the walls.
Like he got like a 25 stealth.
He rolled a nat 20 on stealth, and he literally just like formed into the wall. But
and so I do have to say,
Connor always rolls the nat 20.
Well, I was gonna say we're talking about
for
all
the
these
dumbest things too.
Yeah.
Never when we need him, but with the dumbest thing, he'd be like 20.
Well, I was gonna say like we're talking about nat 20, and I'm sitting here like I got more than my fair share of D1.
Yeah.
D1.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Critical fail.
fails.
Crit fail.
I only crit failed a couple times. The worst I crit failed was in the Star Wars one, though, and I almost got my head taken off in the dueling ring.
I think my worst was when I had to do something with one of the guards, Zachary.
In the Undercroft, yeah.
Yes,
But no, to really finish out fast.
I saw videos of that, and I don't like that is one of the hardest I have ever laughed.
Yeah,
that whole night.
I still have like 100
spectacle.
formatted memes of the things that have happened throughout our campaigns. Just saved on my phone.
Have you seen the meme of the woman who like accidentally ate like antifreeze or something in her mouth? She's an old woman, mouth all blue. That's the only thing I thought.
Gosh, the inside jokes. Everyone listening to this is like, what is going on? But yeah, you guys ended up in like the main boss room of my campaign, and I'm like, well. And Zach's like, I'm gonna hit him, and I'm like, you're gonna what?
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't give like. Each of us has a collective 3 brain cells we're rubbing together like we're going to make fire.
Because you guys are like, oh, we're going to attack him. And I'm like, oh, God. Because I was just going to have you guys talk to him, and he was just going to like clap his hands. You guys are going to wake up in the tavern again. Like, what?
Yeah.
But nope.
Yours, Brennan, your campaign was so much more difficult than Zach's.
What do you mean?
Well, like, we had all that zombie stuff.
Uh-huh.
Zach getting poisoned, or
dude,
like
Zach died like 3 times in the first 2 sessions, or not died, he got knocked out.
Oh my word. Zach gets knocked out. Okay, we cover him. We keep him safe.
We should probably get wrapping this up for this week.
I mean, we can continue. It would just have to. Yeah, I mean,
if we want to do a series on D&D, we sure can.
You know what? Let's do that. We'll end here, and we'll want to pick it up next week and do another D&D.
Yeah,
we sure can. See how that goes. This has been a fun one.
Yeah,
we can talk more about our D&D shenanigans if y'all want. Make sure you subscribe or follow us on whatever you're listening to us on, and check us out on Twitch. Links will be on our homepage and potentially in the description. Make sure you use code VG Podcast at checkout at repsports.com. And we hope you have a very good rest of your night.
Absolutely.
And happy Father's Day to all.
Happy Father's Day. Oof.
Bye now.
Especially to my dad. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.